Okay. Well, I mean, we all like that. We all in flux at all times. So the whole point is to really look deep and really start seeing what's best practice all the time. You have to believe it. You have to believe best practice will actually empower and enhance our relationships. If you don't believe it, it's going to be a chore. You're going to feel trapped. You're going to feel trapped by anything called friends or spouse. Any commitment you're going to feel trapped by because you're not prepared. You're not ready. You're not ready to really look out and really look into building a life with other people. You're looking at how these people benefit me. You're not looking how we can benefit each other. And that's where it gets a little distorted. So like you talked about the dishes. And if you live with people, yeah, you have to, though you are the person who governs the dishes, you do have to tell them, listen, I'm putting it here, because they're going to go into the same place that you put it before, right? And then they're going to think it's there, but you moved it. So then it becomes a bigger argument. It's not about the dishes anymore.
Yeah.
It's about communication. It's about lack of communication. So we can say that's a small thing or a minor thing, but it does show an intention. It does show that you're not being intentional when it comes to your relationships and being mindful of what you're doing with the small things, because everybody always talks about how small things can be, but the small things turn into bigger things. So you should nip them in the butt while they're small.
Yeah, it's like if they get it gets annoying, and
Yeah.
it's like I get annoyed, but just look for
why they keep asking you.
Yeah, like why you pay attention, but then I'm not paying attention. I'm being hypocrite because I'm not paying attention to. Well, it might have been there for the past month, but I have to move it because something, a new appliance was bought and the order had to change.
Definitely.
I'm mindful of, well, I got to communicate that. I'm just thinking pay attention, but it's not that easy because I myself don't want to just look for something if I know somebody else knows what the hell it is.
I mean, it's just cause and effect. Sorry, Lyriick. It's just cause and effect. You should practice cause and effect. What's the cause? And that's going to cause the effect. So who started the trickle effect? And it's usually that person should get the blunt of the responsibility. Mm-hmm. Everything else happened after that.
Yeah.
So if you start looking within and saying, did I start this? Then you start arguing less, you start bickering less, and you start seeing where the other person's coming from. Empathy is very important in accountable relationships. And I forgot to add that when I was defining it, but empathy and having a clear understanding, you know what you think. So don't spend too much time in what you think. Try to spend more time in what the other person's thinking.
Yeah.
And where the other person's coming from. If you're spending more time where you're coming from, 9 times out of 10, you're not hearing what's being said.
Yeah, and then off of that, I think it's a big thing about the fact that we stay inside our own head so much and we expect people to know what's going on in our heads. Like that's how 90% of arguments start. It's just like, well, I assumed you knew X, Y, and Z, and that's where the problem is. Us assuming things instead of just asking the questions. Like, even if it sounds like it may be a stupid question or not worth asking, that little question can stop a whirlwind of things from happening. Because I know I go through it sometimes too, and I just be like, okay, I'm just going to do this, and everybody will just kind of pick up, and I'm just like, yeah, they're not inside your head. They don't know what you're thinking about. They don't know why you're doing what you're doing, because it may seem like common sense to me, and it may not be common sense to the next person, obviously, because we're different people. So yeah, this just, making less assumptions and just asking questions, having the conversations.
And obviously we're juggling. Go ahead, Jerry.
No, I was gonna say, we just had a conversation before we even got on, right? We changed our Facebook password, and he's the verifier of the account. So I looked up at him and I said, can I get the code? And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? I never said, hey, I'm trying to get into Facebook. Hey, could you do whatever? But because I saw his phone go off and he looked down, I just assumed that he was looking down at exactly what I thought he was looking down. And he's like, no, and I said it very matter of fact, can I get the code? And he's like, the code? What are you even talking about right now? So yeah, a lot of times we don't, and based on who I am, like I said, I could walk into a room and just start talking. So him being who I am, he's thinking I'm being flighty and just throwing something out there, not really paying attention to what's going on. When this time I was very direct on what I needed, but because of who I am, is how he reacted to it. And that's another thing that people don't really take into consideration when you are connecting with other people, is who are you to that person? When you're talking to them, what are they, how they react to you is based on who they believe you are.
Definitely.
Are we taking that into consideration ever? And a lot of times when it's us, no, we're not. We just want what we want, and we think that and we may have the best intentions in those moments, right? But based on who we are, you could see why a person may react the way that they are reacting. And I think that that's one part of relationships where we don't always nail. We get tripped up in the not really wanting to believe that there is this thing called track record, that whether people are verbalizing it or not, they're thinking it and they're reacting to you based on it. And we need to always acknowledge that.